Segment 2, Golden Black Live, two of my favorite people, and a privilege for me to be among. I don't know if it wears off anywhere. I'm not going to make it to any Hall of Fame, but these two guys did. Walter Jordan, of course, Purdue men's basketball, 1974 to 1977, all Big Ten level player, all American level player, played in the NBA for the Cleveland Cavaliers. I would say he was an early precursor to LeBron James, but it makes for a good story no matter what. And Stuart Schweigert, the pride of Saginaw, Michigan, who came to Purdue, set the Boilermaker record for interceptions 2000 to 2003. We just talked about being a Big Ten champion and, of course, playing in the Rose Bowl. Stuart's freshman year went on to have really a successful career in the NFL as well. Guys, I guess the first thing is I want to, and I'll start with you, Walter, just on what was it like? I mean, Purdue's obviously meant a lot to you for so many years, and yet to be recognized at this level has to be a little bit of a humbling situation.
To say the least, Alan, I am still so surreal to me. I mean, all I wanted to do in the 5th and 6th grade was make the team after getting cut in 5th and 6th grade. And here it is, God is taking control of this deal, and truly humbling to be, even just to be on this Zoom call with Stuart, who I watched play, and him and I got a chance to reconnect here in the last month or so. We probably spoken at least 20 times, and I just love to speak.
That's the best part of this, yeah.
the relationships. But Purdue University, to recognize something we've done, we never dreamt this. Trust me, you can't dream this, and it's amazing how you can't outdream God's dream He has for you. And I tried it; it don't work because his dream is always bigger than my own. So I just surrendered and said, Lord, you do your will. So I'm just so honored to even be recognized with this distinguished group, and especially this class of 2022. And I'm excited. My family, I think, is probably more excited than I am. It's amazing. I have 3 IU graduates in my siblings, and they wear more Purdue gear than I do. So that tells you something. Yeah.
Stuart, for you, obviously a very spectacular career, one that won a lot of football games. Freshman year, you were in the Rose Bowl. 2001, you didn't have as good a year, but you got in 2002 might be one of the most frustrating years in the history of Purdue football because you were like 3 plays away from winning 10 games. Then in 2003, you go back and win 9 games, but a lot more to it than that. You've got a lot of friends, and you had a chance to play with guys like Drew Brees and Kyle Orton, but also guys on your defense being coached by Brock Spack, and there's a lot of great names in that group. But what's that like now to be part of be recognized as a Purdue Hall of Fame guy?
Well, I kind of want to follow suit with what Walter Jordan said. And, the fact of being inducted into this thing and the chance to meet I'm excited to meet the other, 7 inductees. And like Walter said, it started off just by saying congratulations, I think on Facebook it was, and we exchanged numbers, and we've talked, like 20 times. And I think the first time we talked was for about 3 hours. And I look at Walter as really a mentor. He had spoken about his book that he had written. I asked him some questions about that because I've been talking with one of my best friends who's actually a professor, teaches English in South Korea, about writing my own biography. And so it was really nice to be able to meet him. And then the kind of the reach out I got from the Purdue football players that I talked to, like Rod Woodson and Mike Allstott and Ryan Kerrigan and Jim Everett, along with like Mike Scanina. And these are guys that I look at as superstars. So to be able to be considered and in this group, and I don't know the exact number, but I think out of 9,000 former athletes, coaches, and administrators, there's been 172, maybe we make 180 being inducted. I might be off by a couple numbers, but I mean, that's such an elite group, and it's amazing because I remember when I was going through my recruiting visits and stuff, I always looked at the record books, who is the best that's ever been at these universities and what are the type of numbers they produced. And, as you're looking at that, obviously when you go somewhere, you want to be the best that's ever done it. And I'm sure, Walter, you can agree to that. Anyone that's being inducted or has been inducted. So to be able to now get there and have that accomplishment, it is surreal, and it's still kind of hard to believe. And I think there's been so much work for me to trying to coordinate things and who's going to come and not. I haven't actually had a chance to really sit and take in what this whole thing means. So I'm very, very excited for this weekend, and probably more excited for my children to be a part of it and get a chance to meet, guys like Walter Jordan and some of the other guys that are coming, women that are going to be inducted into it this weekend.
Yeah, I think that has to be one of the things is you guys were part of the Purdue family as players, your college experience. There's no better brother than Eugene Parker or Joe Barry Carroll, or the ones that Walter had to play with. No better folks to be around than the Sean Phillips of the world and the Drew Breeses and those types of people.
Forgive me. I forget. Wait, hold on. I just want to make sure. Drew, he's in there, right? I'm assuming. No, he can't. Yeah. Or wait. You have to be done.
You have to be 5 years. Yeah, he's not in yet. You guys both beat Drew. That's something you can tell your great grandkids and you beat Drew Brees, because right. The rule is, I believe, 5 years past your playing days.
Yeah.
Is that right? Am I right on
I
that?
think it. Yeah. I think it is 5 years past your playing days. Yes.
But anyway, Drew, and I think it's a very small group that you have to be a part of. But Walter, it has to take you back to that special relationship you had, as I said, with guys like Mike White and Wayne Walls, Eugene Parker, that group where you captured the imagination of the Purdue fan base as freshmen, no less. And of course, Dick Satterfield, we always gig him a little bit as being the fifth member of the Soul Patrol. But this is and had a tremendous amount of accomplishment. But you learned some things too. You got the NCAA tournament once. You said your senior year didn't turn out maybe as high as you wanted, but it's all part of that experience that makes it a magical thing to go back and look at.
Well, absolutely. When I decided to go to Purdue, one of the things I loved about Purdue is the winning environment. They had just won the NIT.
Right.
To be in a program that was winner, and the culture was right. And when Eugene Parker invited me to go down for an unofficial visit, he'd already taken his official visit just to ride down with him. Yeah. And everyone thought I was going to Indiana University because that was my school. I've spent summer months there, and my brothers and sisters was going there. But Eugene and I talked driving back and forth from Fort Wayne to West Lafayette. And the fact that Eugene is somebody I loved and respected since I was a freshman in high school, there was never a person in my age group that I respected more than Eugene Parker and Fred Arrington, and went on great things at Purdue in the football field. Fred and I went to grade school, middle school, and high school together. Eugene, as freshmen in high school, Eugene was the man. He was the man in Fort Wayne. And to have him say, "I want you to come play with me," had my attention. And when I got to Purdue, never forget it, Adi Matthews, you might remember that name from Illinois.
Oh yeah, Adi Matthews, right?
He was their second recruit. Eugene was number one. Adi was supposed to be at West Lafayette that weekend, but Adi basically decided to commit to Illinois before he came to Purdue for that visit. So I was there, and a couple of coaches kept calling me Adi Matthews. and then, so I said, God would have it, we would play against Adi for 4 years.
Yeah.
And so at the end of my sophomore year, I went to Coach Shouts. I said, "I think you guys picked the right one." Because when they found out that I was interested in coming to Purdue, because they assumed I was going to IU, Eugene Parker had a lot to do with it, but also the Dick Satterfields and Bruce Parkinsons of the world who invited us and made us feel welcome, and Gerald Thomases of the world. We came in as a Soul Patrol with Mike White and Eugene, and Lord knows it's very emotional week just thinking about him, just trying to get there. Being on that campus, being on that podium, but he'll be with me, trust me. I feel him right now. And Wayne Walls, of course, my brothers, and then Dick Satterfield. But those guys have been amazing. Those guys all reached out to me in the last couple of weeks. Dick and I had a great conversation, Mike Steele, Bruce Parkinson. So those are things, Gerald Thomas, those are things that you treasure, those relationships this last 50 years or 49, 45 years who are a brotherhood. I was not a fraternity guy, but I had the best fraternity on campus, the Boilermaker athletic, even football players, because I was just as close to football players as I was to basketball players. So it's just the relationships we had to being Boilermakers, and I love it. It's priceless. It's priceless.
Fred Arrington, your Fort Wayne brother, hardest hit I've ever seen in Ross-Ade Stadium was delivered by Fred Arrington, and one of the fine all Big Ten level linebacker, and Absolutely. I think MVP of Jim Young's first team as well. Stuart, your story of getting to Purdue is an interesting one, because there aren't many guys out of the state of Michigan that don't, of your caliber. You were a highly regarded recruit. I can remember it. We used to run pictures of Gold and Black with you playing quarterback, and yet Brock Spack, I know, had a lot to do with that. But just tell a little bit about that story of getting to West Lafayette, because again, you could have easily played in East Lansing. You could have easily played at the Big House on a weekly basis, but you chose Purdue.
We must be connected right here mentally, because I was just, when Walter Jordan talked about, everyone thought he was going to go to Indiana. I said, I gotta talk about how I got down to Purdue, and obviously, coming out of Michigan, it was me and Charles Rogers were, the number 1 and 2 players in the state. And I actually still have the max prep, because remember back in the day, all max preps and Tom Lemmings were the only way you could figure out who were coming out, right? And Max Preps had me as, I think, the 34th ranked player in the nation, and then number 2 skilled athlete, because I was a quarterback / safety. So you're looking at Michigan. They had just won the national championship in '97 when Lloyd Carr offered me a scholarship. Then right at 30 miles west, you had Nick Saban at Michigan State, and I remember going to when I went to visit these schools, Wisconsin and Notre Dame and Purdue and Michigan and all these schools. The head coach was always with the offense. And I go down to Michigan State, and Nick Saban is not only with the defense, but specifically with the defensive backs. And I thought that was really, really cool. And then we went down to a one-day camp at Michigan State. And the entire day, my dad, when we got there, Nick Saban had a golf cart, and he took my dad around for the entire day, showing kind of a private tour of Michigan State's campus. Went to his house, they had a couple cocktails, came back, and my dad said, "Hey, this guy really wants you." So you're looking at it, and you're thinking, as a university, obviously there's finances that go into recruiting, right? You got to go, hey, do we got a chance with this kid? And the fact that Joe Tiller and SPAC would come up into that Michigan and recruit me and have the gonads to do that, I always thought that was really cool. And SPAC would come up, and he was just no nonsense, right? I mean, he didn't try to sell you on anything, but it was just every time when I came to Purdue, I came down after I had won the 100-meter dash on a one-day camp, and right away it felt different than the other universities. It just felt like home to me. And then, going on my official visits to, like I said, Notre Dame, Wisconsin, Michigan State, and Purdue, Vinny Sutherland was my host, and those other schools were on bowl practices, right? Every school was going to a bowl game, and the other universities, it felt like work. It felt like, it was work for those guys to be there. And I go down to Purdue on the visit. I'm watching practice, and Tiller's messing with Chaney, and Chaney's messing with SPAC, and Breeze is messing with Odom and Aiken. And it seemed like the guys were having a ton of fun. And we sat up in my up in the little offices where they had a VCR and a big TV, and it was me, my dad, Joe Tiller, Brock Spack, Jim Chaney, and Kevin Sumlin. And they had 5 plays. They had a video they made up of 5 plays on offense, 5 plays on defense, and 5 plays on special teams. They said, "This is what we see you doing." And me and my dad were blown away. I mean, it sounds like something simple, but we go, I could actually visualize and see myself being here. And we thought that's that fact that they made that, and the fact of that I really only spoke with Joe Tiller, Sumlin, and SPAC, the head coach, offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator. And every time I'd call, SPAC, I could hear Tiller it's that Schweigert, and then he'd run down to, SPAC's office, and then Chaney would come in there, and have some funny remark to have. And it was just, it was an honor to be able to go to Tiller's funeral and be an honorary pallbearer, but it would be amazing to have him here at this event, because him and SPAC and Amy will be here, which I'm very, very excited about for the weekend. And last thing about Tiller, I don't know, they didn't get too many home visits back then. I don't know, maybe 15
Yeah.
a head coach could have a home visit. And Spack and Tiller come up to Saginaw, Michigan, and I have a picture of me, Spack, and Tiller in my living room. But Spack's over there talking to my mom about academics, because at the time I thought I wanted to be an engineer, and how, you know, 1 out of every 10 engineers are from Purdue, and Tiller's just sitting there looking at me, you know, and I'm kind of getting a little, like, you know, like a little nervous or uncomfortable. He's just looking at me, and I'm going, you know, and he goes, I said, Coach, what's going on? He just looks at me. He goes, geez, you got a big nose. You got a big nose. And I'm like, what? He's like, how's that big nose? I don't know if that nose will fit in a Purdue helmet. And I'm sitting here thinking, you got Nick Saban and you got Lloyd Carr, who just won a national championship. And that was his recruiting line to me. And I said, I'm going to Purdue. I said, I'm going to Purdue. Because that was just the
That's
type
called
of guy
make.
he was, and it was the best decision I ever made. But again, I just, this whole thing, you know, reconnecting with guys and establishing new relationships. Again, I mean, I'll be with Walt, and then also too, the thing that makes it really cool, which I didn't realize, is we're the first class to be inducted into the Leroy Keys Purdue Athletic.
Right. Big deal. Big deal. That's
And,
a huge
you know,
deal.
Leroy Keys was just such a great ambassador for the university. And just when I had a chance to come down here and to have that relationship with somebody that's a part of Purdue, but not a coach. And, you know, you felt like you could trust him with things you couldn't tell a coach. And our relationship we had, I was so blessed to be able to come down here and live and establish a friendship with Leroy, and have a chance to interview him when I was on 101.7 The Hammer. He was a very close friend of mine, and it's amazing to be the first class into that. And I along with being inducted with Morgan Burke, you know, because Morgan Burke brought Tiller brought Spack got me. And if it wasn't for me coming to Purdue, I wouldn't have the family I have now. I met my wife, Chrissy, here. We have our 4 beautiful children, and now we live here. So it's just funny how things all kind of fall into place. So it's a really, really, I mean, there's just so many things I'm excited about this weekend. And at the very least, I mean, not even thinking about anything I did as a player. It's all this new stuff that's coming about. So I'm very, very excited. But yeah, that was kind of my route to Purdue. And it was the best decision I ever made in my life.
Well, it is. It's one of those deals. Everybody's got a story, and it isn't always a linear approach to. Well,
and I'm glad I have the moment here to talk about it here, because we only get 2 minutes while we're up there.
Yeah. Now I was going to say, I wanted to ask Walter, in terms of you know, your experience, obviously having that opportunity to play at that high level, and in today's 68 team field, you guys would have made the NCAA tournament 4 times. It just was it was about a 32 team tournament when you made it in 77. But this is again, you don't make it by yourself. You've got coaches you've talked about, and what Walt talked about, some of your teammates. But talk about now that you're watching Matt Painters and the tradition of Purdue basketball, and being part of that, and now a forever part of it from a Hall of Fame standpoint. But this is a tradition that is important for the Rick Mounts and the Herman Gilliams before you, and now the Zach Eady's and the Mason Gillises and anybody else you want to talk about. But part about just being a part of that rock solid tradition that's Purdue basketball.
Yeah, I could not be prouder. As proud as I've ever been to be a Boilermaker. The culture, the environment, the standards that Coach Katie has started, and now Matt Painter had adopted, and with the coaching staff, the Brandon Brantleys, the players, how they carry themselves, how they present themselves, how they compete, how year after year we're relevant. It doesn't really matter. Purdue's going to be here for a long time to come. As long as Matt Painter stays at Purdue, I love what we represent. People always talk about we hadn't won this. It's a difference between winning a trophy, winning a league, and becoming winners. He's creating winners. We have winners. Winners change the world. Winners are the ones who think about others. It's not all about a trophy or event. We'll get to the Final Four when we're ready to get to the Final Four. We'll win a national championship when God says it's the time to win a national championship. But we're consistent as they come in college basketball. It is so fun to watch. You know, when the thing got beat down at IU, It happened exactly how I thought it would happen, because we had to go through those challenges. Those young team has to go through challenges. We have to get beat up some. That's part of the process. You don't become a national championship without going through something and learning how to go through those storms. So I'm impressed with how they bounced back in the second half. Wow, I could not have been prouder. At halftime, I kept saying it's not over, because I want to see what kind of character these guys had. And I knew what was going to happen. I told my brothers it's not over yet. And they were blowing up my phone about 2 minutes ago. Oh my God, oh my God. And that's the kind of character these kids, they'll bounce back tonight. They'll bounce back against me, because that's the character they have. And they'll fight you. And they're so close. You can just feel the closeness. Yeah. Last year's team was more talented, but they were not the team that these guys willing to do the dirty work. They're willing to get on the floor. You see 6'4", 7'4" Edie diving on 4 foot balls. That's unheard of. That's hard to do. He didn't think about it. You talk about a silent hero and leader. Edie is just amazing. And then the other guys, the guys on the bench, like a Gillis, who's just a glue guy, that's going to be the key. It's our bench. If they can come out and be consistent with our 5 starters, our 6th, 7th, 8th player, I think we're going to do really well come March Madness. Don't be surprised, because I'm believing in this team. I like what I'm seeing. For sure.
Yeah. You should, and you're right. There's it's an extremely competitive deal, but this team knows how to compete. Stuart, we're running a little short on time. We got a minute or two, but I wanted to ask you about, and then I want both of you to give me your elevator speeches of your 2-minute speech, if you can, before we're done. That may be hard to do, but Stuart, just the fact that you played as a your defense in 2000 were a bunch of, they were redshirt freshmen, but there was a true freshman in yourself and Gilbert Gardner, but Gilbert may have redshirted, but you've got Sean Phillips, Craig Terrell on down the line. Just not being, this team is in men's basketball led by Braden Smith and Fletcher Lawyer.
Yeah,
there is something about freshmen that can still get it done. Walter Jordan played at the highest level as a true freshman. What's that like from that standpoint of having maybe the audacity to say, so what? I may be young. It still could be my time right now.
And I talked about, and Gilbert Gardner he was part of that freshman.
Yeah, he was a freshman, right?
Yep. So you had, and Jock Reeves did play some bit. Yeah. He was a true freshman as well. But the thing about that is, as I said, what made that 2000 team so great was you had the seniors with Breeze and Vinny and Matt Light and those guys. So we had great senior leadership, but then you add in those freshmen and you sprinkle in some juniors or some sophomores like Joe Odom and Aiken Ayadel, but you have the talented freshmen coming in, and it can be good and bad when you have a talented freshman class if you do not have the senior leadership to teach those young kids how to act, how to represent yourself in the classroom, in the community. And that's what we had. I was very fortunate to have those guys to teach us, how to study and how to compete. And it was, and really, and Walter, you can attest to this, now these kids come out of high school, they're ready to go because they're being taught. They have personal trainers and, they're in these programs, and they're for football wise. when I had my personal training business, I'm teaching kids in middle school stuff I didn't learn until I was in the NFL. So for younger guys back, especially back in Walter Jordan's time, and that's no offense, I'm not calling you old, Walter. I'm just saying then I'm sure. for a young guy, or even for me to come out of high school, I didn't even know how to backpedal. I played defense, but you're just not taught those skills. So it was a little harder back then. But again, I think if you can go out there and compete, and that's what was so great about the coaching staff was they didn't care who it was. They didn't care if you were a freshman, if you were a walk-on, if you're white, if you're black, if you're from Indiana, if you're from California or Michigan. If you're going to help this team win, they're going to put you out there. They're going to give you a chance, and then it's up to you to take care of that. Yeah, they take advantage. And my chance came when and I just watched the play. Gary Gotze, the quarterback at Notre Dame, when I was in my freshman year. Matt Mitrione misses a sack, should have had him. He gets a chance to throw a ball. Ralph Turner tries to get it, doesn't get the ball, hurts his ankle, and they catch it. and they're like, Stuart, you're in. I go in, get an interception, and I started ever since then. And if it's not for that play, who knows? Or if I go in there and I lay an egg, I may not be sitting here talking to you today. So it's amazing just taking a chance or taking advantage of that opportunity. And again, you look at that freshman class we had, and it was, even on the offense side, John Standiford over there, playing and doing what he did. And I wish I had more time to talk about the 01 and 02. Really that 03 season. I mean, we should have won a national championship. We really should have. And I was just laying in bed thinking about just a couple of plays here or there make the difference between, going to the Outback Bowl or going to the Capital One Bowl or making it to a national championship. So, but those are fun things to remember, and all this stuff, being a part of this and being on here brings back those fun memories.
No doubt. That's a fun thing. Walter Jordan, I think, and Wayne Walls in their first Big Ten game, if I'm right, Michigan State, I think one of you had 28 and the other one had 24, some ungodly numbers in there. You guys were born ready from that standpoint. and I've got to change something I did. My brain clicked back in. Dewberry's did make the Hall of Fame in 2009. So you can't tell your kids that. And it's 5 years after your Purdue days are done.
Oh, got you.
So that is
that makes sense, because Ryan Kerrigan got in, and that's right. That makes sense.
No, I don't want to spread the half truths. All right, I don't want you to tell your whole speech, but what's going to be the tenor of your talk, Walter? I'll start with you in terms of what do you want to say? What's that message you want to get to the folks about your experience?
Well, there's 3 points I hope to make and pray I can be able to make. First of all, I know I'm going to be extremely emotional because my family's going to be. That was the championship team that I played on all my life. My 6 brothers and my 3 sisters and my parents living in a 3-bedroom house where we didn't have anything, but later found out we had everything, and how we had standards and how those standards carried on through all of my life, and how to treat people, how to build relationships, how to look people in the eye, how to not steal, how to not cheat, how to work hard for anything you wanted that you want in life. No one's going to give you a free lunch. Those are lessons that was taught to me since I was an infant. And I had heroes and idols, but my heroes really lived under my rooftop. 7 of us got college degrees, and I was the 7th child. I saw what they did. I saw the standards that my parents set. That led me to Northrop High School, where busing started in 71. I was about that first class. If you watch the movie with Remember the Titans, that was my class. All that stuff that happened, so tension, and a lot of my classmates are going to be there tomorrow. 50 years of friendship, our 50-year anniversary is next month, and none of them looked like me. I was 20% Black in my senior class, and to be voted the best male citizen unanimously by my senior classmates is huge. And people say, how do you guys win the state championship? All you have to do is be around us. Once you're around us, there's no isms. You see nothing but love. A lot of my classmates went to IU, but they were Walter Jordan fans to the death. And we're so close. And it's like, it's part of my extended family. So I've been blessed beyond measure. Then I think about the coach. I think about Coach Joe Sexton, who I love. I love Coach Joe Sexton, who's no longer with us, Coach Blaylock, Fred Schaus, Bob King, of course, Bob King, the legend Bob King, and how they touched my life and changed my life. And of course, the Soul Patrol and that crew and just, Eugene Parker. So there's some things in there. Of course, my mom was my angel. She passed away when I was 17 years old. And one of the things I always wanted to do in my life was to make my mama proud. And I told my brothers last night, I said, maybe, I think I might have finally done it this weekend.
I think you did. And you know what? You will have that challenge of standing up there and not being emotional, but that'll make it special. Stuart, what about, your situation again? Have you been practicing your speech? Are you just going to go up and just nail it?
Well, first of all, I wish you would have let me go first. Now I have to follow Walter's little deal there. So, but that's probably the biggest thing is when I send out the itinerary, everyone's going to go, the first thing everyone says is you only get 2 minutes because I tend to talk a little bit, you know, as you guys can see.
Do a little.
I would say, you know, obviously the family aspect of it too, you know, my dad, my two brothers, I come from a big family as well. You know, 2 older brothers, 2 older sisters, a younger half sister, 2 older stepsisters, younger stepbrother. So we're all, and none of them, I don't have the same dad or mom with any of them. So, you know, my parents, again, they were divorced when I was in 3rd grade. And just like Walter said, you know, it's about toughness, and nothing worth accomplishing is going to be easy to do. And I when I came to Purdue, it was a blue collar type atmosphere. And I think that's why I fit in so well at Purdue with those coaches. Again, you know, you talk about that staff, and one guy that won't have a chance to be here is Kenny Green. And he was my defensive back coach. Without him, I'm nothing. I mean, again, we would, before practice, he's literally teaching me how to backpedal. And he told me later on, he goes, Stu, you came in with all this hype. And I was kind of worried because I'm going, this guy doesn't know how to play safety. He doesn't, you know, and again, when I played in high school, I was just big, athletic, and ran to the ball. But him teaching me how to read the offensive line for run or pass is why, as a safety, I'm making all these tackles. And you always hear, if a safety is leading the team in tackles, that means that it's a struggling team. It's not a good team. I'm thinking, I led the team in tackles in 2001 as a true freshman and a sophomore. We had a pretty good team. We went to the Rose Bowl. So I'm like, that doesn't equate.
It always was.
I would not have done that if it wasn't for him teaching me about how to read that offensive line. And one story specifically is the game against Indiana when we have to win to go to the Rose Bowl, and the first interception I had in the end zone because they ran the option. And if you read that offensive line on the front side, they're going to make it look like run. But he goes, when you see option to your side, always check the backside tackle. If he's blocking down, it's going to be a run. If he's going back away from the line of scrimmage, you know that's going to be an option pass. And I picked off that first interception just off of that point alone. So it's those little things. And I was very fortunate in my high school career with Brett Forrester. He will be there as well. But at Purdue, and even in the NFL with Chuck Pagano, to have some great coaches, and that makes a difference. And I get so upset with when I'm not. This isn't going to be my speech. I'm just.
Yeah, you're not going to make 2 minutes, my friend. Oop, I lost you there. I think we may have had you freeze up. Stuart, are you back? Yeah, a little sick.
Staff, and I was very fortunate about that. And that's one of the things I want to make sure that I get known out there, is because I know when there's kids that I trained come back and they say, you know, Stu, that thing you taught me did this. And I get more pleasure off of seeing somebody get success off of something I taught them than achieving anything my own. So that's the biggest thing, is just acknowledging why I'm up there. And it's because of the coaches, one for Spack and Tiller having the gonads to go into Michigan and pull me down here. And then 2, to teach me how to play the game of football, and not just the game of football, how to be a man, how to treat people. How, you know, I graduated in 3.5 years. Academics for Tiller was very important. And that's one thing that I stress to my children and anyone that's out there. So it was about lessons for life. And I'll end on this. Whenever I talked to Tiller after I had, you know, left Purdue before he passed, we never talked football. Never. It was always, how's the family? How's your job? How are things going at home? How are you doing? You know, and that was one thing about Tiller, was he cared about you as a person. And a lot of coaches aren't that way. I remember he made the promise, you know, as a coach, I become their parent and I will do everything I can to turn them into a productive member of the community. And he did that.
Yeah. You guys are both going to make a difference with your presence there, but your message as well. We'll do this again. I don't know.
I would. Hey, I was very happy that you partnered up with Walter, man. I'd love to come back on.
Yeah, you guys are great, and we maybe we'll have a little NCAA basketball analysis as we get closer to. But guys, safe travels to campus, and enjoy the weekend. It's a wonderful tribute not only to you. But as you both recognize, it's a tribute to all the people in your lives, both at Purdue and before and after, that have made you the people you are. And great tribute to both of you guys. So thanks so much for taking.
Yeah, thank you,
Alan. You are amazing. You're a blessing for Purdue University and our athletic program and so many others. I just want to tell you that you're first class, and I certainly appreciate you, Stuart. I can't wait to see.
Well, it's a privilege to be able to do this, and you guys are part of my. Walter's part of my boyhood memories, but Stuart was maybe but still, both guys just both of you were absolute.
I do want to say I want to pick
far away.
And what Alan, what you and Brian and Tom and everyone that's involved, man, you guys do a phenomenal job for Purdue, and they are lucky. The athletes and everyone is lucky to have you in our corner and behind us, because for whatever reason, people get so scared of the media, and I try to spread that message that we've got some guys that are true Purdue fans, and all they want is success. So you are a blessing to the university. I want to say that, and it helps during my career.
Absolutely.
Well, it helps to have good subject matter. That's for sure, guys. All right, I want to thank. You guys actually preceded by President Mung Chiang was a guest on the show as well, and we appreciate them. Also, I want to thank Triple X and, of course, our folks. You guys probably both went to Triple X at one point in time your careers, and of course, State Farm agent Trent Johnson for their support as well. So, and WLFI Gordon Jackson and the folks there for putting the show together. We'll be back next week, leading into that Purdue Indiana basketball game. That's going to be a good one.
Let's go, boys.
We're out, baby.
We'll look forward to that, and make sure you stay tuned for that. So again, have a great weekend, everybody. Thanks so much for watching and listening. And again, Stu and Walter, congratulations.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.